Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeart Radio Network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys from down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and of course you good old boys from Canada. And Big C, there's no one we love more than all the good old boys down south in the land of the free, in the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you sound like you about to have a neighborhood party. I do want to say today is a beautiful August the 2nd, 2017 in the land of the free, in the home of the brave. And basically so many things happening in the world of sports. Obviously, world of sports and politics. We have the Hall of Fame game kicking off tomorrow in Canton, Ohio. But a lot of good things that affect the NFL coming up to that. I just want to start off by saying that today we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening with the administration, because everything that we talk about, it affects college, it affects the NFL, and the Trump administration is trying to sue colleges that have affirmative actions. Big C, if that happens, it would knock so many of these schools out of the financial realm that they're in because of affirmative actions. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you look at the Trump administration. The Trump administration is constantly trying to deflect from their problems by throwing shade at the rest of America.
Yeah.
It's stupid and frivolous actions that he's taking. Why does he not deal with the administration? Why does he not deal with passing policy that's going to benefit America? He's going back attacking situations that are already in place. Every time that there's a problem that arises with he and his family, all of a sudden he's throwing something at other Americans or somebody else out there, Charlton.
Yeah.
From his problems.
Yeah, and that's a shame because, we got to make sure that equality stays for everybody. There's been too much progress made for us to turn back into the past and try to go with that old eugenic look that we have in the White House. I do want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. So Big C, obviously, I look at something that happens in the world of sports, and everyone's talking about equality. And when people talk about equality, we got to realize that the reason we had affirmative action is because in the law of the land, African Americans were not considered full people. We were like 2/3 of a person. And that was written into the law of the United States of America, the land of the free, home of the brave, Bible-toting Christian country. They didn't give the same appreciation to African Americans. So through a lot of struggle, a lot of people lost their lives marching for freedom. And a lot of people lost their lives marching for civil rights. And I think what you just said is so powerful. I hate to see the president going down to that lowest totem pole, which is to racially divide people and make everyone think that if we just get black kids out of school, there'll be more white kids going to college. Big C, your thoughts?
The president's platform, Charlton, was based on race. He went after the white Americans who felt that they had been left out of society because minorities and immigrants had taken the positions that they could have gotten in life, if things had stayed the way they were back in the 40s and 50s and early 60s. That was the mindset of his base, going back to the racial divide of America.
Yeah.
And as you look at what he talks about in politics, about limiting immigration in America to people who could only speak English.
Yeah.
Charlton, show me the unemployment line of white people that are looking to go out and pick strawberries, tomatoes, green beans, apples, oranges, to go out and work as maids in hotels and laundry people and cleaners in hospitals. Show me the line of white people who are dying to get those jobs. It was Donald Trump's base.
Yeah.
I don't see any of them lining up saying that I want to go out and take these labor-intensive jobs that pay little in America. I don't see them wanting to go sweep floors to mop floors to do these things, Charlton. This is that angelic look that does not want to be employed in America. Not at those job bases, Charlton, but he's not going to create executive jobs for unemployed whites or any other minority in America.
Well, I thought he was trying to get those jobs for his own kids and grandkids, Big C. They need the work, Big C, obviously. But I just think, unfortunately, even Ronald Reagan did that garbage with the Willie Horton letter and all that stuff that came up about trying to scare white people into thinking about maybe black Americans, or now that I guess the target person now is the Hispanic American. And I don't think that, maybe I'm so ignorant when I say this, I think there are enough Caucasian Americans that are not that dumb anymore. I mean, because you have access to the internet, you can find anything you want in the world, Big C.
Enough that's not that dumb, but there are enough that's still that dumb.
Yeah.
I think that you're going to go back to the way things were. You think about it, when you run on a platform, that we're going to go back to the way that things were.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go back to when the NFL only had 5% black participation.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
We're going to go back to when the NBA only had 12% black participation, Jonathan. That's what we're going to go back to. We're going to go back to when the NHL was all white, Jonathan. This is what he's saying in the world of sports, that we can limit. It's like when he was speaking to law enforcement officers just a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
He said, I encourage you to rough them up. And he meant minorities. When you pull them over, when you cover them up, I encourage you to get physical with them.
Are you sure that he wasn't talking about suburban neighborhoods, Big C? Do you think that he was just talking about people of color when he made that statement, Big C?
Well, Jonathan, this is like the war on narcotics in America, okay?
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan said, the war on narcotics, just say no. When you see all these white Americans, Jonathan, that are addicted to opiates, which start with prescription drugs and it leads to heroin.
Yeah.
They all need rehab, Jonathan.
Yeah.
There had to be something wrong in their upbringing, something that went wrong in their life, maybe some hardship, so it forced them to drugs. But if it's a minority, it's just locked.
They want to give them jail.
You don't look at rehab for any minorities that you see dealing with drugs, Jonathan. You're talking about giving them long-term sentences.
Yeah.
But if they're a white person, they can be rehabbed and become productive members of society. A heroin addict is a heroin addict, Jonathan.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, when you have over 100 Americans dying consistently, daily, weekly, in America.
Daily.
Overdoses.
It's a shocking number.
No one is saying anything about it. We got to keep that quiet because it's a white disease.
Yeah.
If it was blacks, it would be praised everywhere. But since it's white people dying, 100 whites a day dying in America from opiate overdose.
It's incredible.
And where is it coming from? It's not coming from the ghetto, Charles.
No.
They're not, raising the opiates in some urban neighborhoods.
Yeah.
That's not where it's coming from. So when we see the part of society that's abusing and dying from certain drug use, this is like the cocaine epidemic, Charles.
Yeah.
When white America was using all that powder, well, we got to find a way to curb that, Charles. We got to find rehab. Now we got the opiates, and young white Americans are dying from it from prominent families, Charles.
Isn't that something? I think.
And their parents don't care what they do, so they can become opiate addicted.
There was a golfer that just lost his son, and I don't want to jump the gun and say what the case was, but I believe it was. I think it was an overdose. I'm not really sure. I was just finding out a little bit of information, but I didn't get enough to get on before that we got on the air, Big C. But I just want to make sure that for all of our society, all of us need to protect our children, adults, etc. I'm not trying to be Pollyannish. Yeah.
I had a former broadcast partner.
Yeah.
Who lost his son to heroin overdose, who fought it for years.
Yeah.
But all he was doing was putting his son in rehab. He didn't have time to love his son, tell him that he cared about it, because he was too busy living his own life. And I understand you got to work as a parent.
Yeah.
But he was too busy with his broadcasting career.
Yeah.
And he was there for his family.
Yeah.
And he could provide his son with the money to go out and get the opiates. He could provide his son with the things in the home to steal and go get the opiates. Instead of turning his son into law enforcement,
Yeah.
he allowed his son to continue until he killed himself.
And
Then he wanted to feel bad.
well, Big C, that's a point that I gotta bring up, because I've known too many African American young men that also, you could say, went awry, and they did it because they wanted to eat, and maybe they were frowned upon by mainstream society. Everybody has their own story, but I don't know too many Caucasian friends that went to prison over dealing or using drugs, and I saw more drug use by white Americans when I was in college than I ever saw in my life. But they were white middle-class families, and they were never racially profiled by law enforcement. Oftentimes they were even let go by law enforcement because they spoke the same language. I do want to bring this up because I think it's powerful, and we do cover a lot of sports with politics. But for the Trump administration, they want to sue colleges that still use affirmative action. Could you imagine the University of Michigan? Let's just take them as one school. Even Ohio State, Alabama, of course. These schools make over $100 million a year on their athletic departments, primarily African American talent. If they want to kick the kids out of college, that are given some help with affirmative action, they have to understand the only reason they needed affirmative action because of how Jim Crow kept our society segregated and unequal. And there's still banks that do redlining in different states, Big C. That problem of reparations has never, ever been addressed outside of trying to level the playing field, but they never made the Caucasian society give up some of the gains they had that they benefited from through Jim Crow and segregation. Big C, your thoughts?
Off of everybody else, and there will never be an abolishment.
Yeah.
You know, the people will always be tilted in that direction.
Yeah.
When we look at the world of sports, it's tilted to the white side, regardless of how many minority players that you have. You don't have the minority owners. The minority owners are in the control lock, stock, and barrel.
Yeah.
You know, and when we talk about race in sports, I mean, it goes no further than Colin Kaepernick. Let's look at it, Johnson.
Yeah.
NFL camp started last week, okay?
Yeah.
32 teams in the
32 teams, yeah.
Each one of those teams with the training camp with at least 4 quarterbacks, okay, Jonathan?
Yeah.
My math is not good because I'm old and
yeah.
now and halfway stupid people tell me.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking sometimes 32
it's over 100. It's over 100.
Okay, let's say it's over 120 quarterbacks with the training camp.
Yeah.
Okay, 128.
Yeah.
128 quarterbacks minimum with the NFL training camps.
Yeah.
There's the quarterback, Colin Kaepernick. We keep talking about him, and we will continue talking about him. But there was 128 quarterbacks with the training camp minimal in the NFL.
Yeah.
The training camps opened last week. Now, I want to know how many of those quarterbacks have been to Super Bowls, okay?
Yeah.
Win or lose, how many have been to Super Bowls? But they were saying that there's 128 quarterbacks better than Colin Kaepernick that went to training camp. That's a bunch of BS, okay? And let's be realistic.
Oh, yeah.
I want folks talking about Colin Kaepernick this week. When you look at the NFL owners, the amount of money that they gave to the Republican National Convention versus the
Democrat,
National Convention,
yeah.
it was 3 to 1 in dollars.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
3 to 1. So when you're talking about, you know, one side giving $100 million, Charlton, versus the other side getting $25 million.
Yeah.
That's what the Republicans did for the NFL owners did for the Republicans.
Yeah.
Now, when we sit here talking about Colin Kaepernick not being signed out, I didn't watch every NFL game last year, Tony, but I'm trying to figure out which one of those stadiums
yeah.
Colin Kaepernick played a game in, okay?
Wow, yeah.
When we talk about backlash from fans and all, and they're thinking about the sponsorship, you know, withdrawing from a team,
yeah.
You got to tell me which one of the games that Colin Kaepernick played in that there was an empty stadium and a protest outside the stadium, because I don't recall any of them. Although ESPN won't tell you that there wasn't.
No.
The network won't tell you wasn't.
No.
CBS and ABC, they will not tell you that it wasn't. So it's not. It wasn't that he created a political strife. It's that he created something that they're embarrassed about.
Yeah.
He told them about the racial injustice. Think about the owner of the Ravens, okay?
Yeah.
But this is a man who.
Bisciotti, Steve Bisciotti.
Bisciotti knew that Ray Rice was beating the crap out of his wife, okay?
That's acceptable.
And it was acceptable because it was a felony offense.
Yeah.
And he didn't do anything until TMZ broke the tape.
He didn't ask no one to pray for him or nothing.
He didn't. He suspended him for 2 games at that point. But once TMZ broke the tape, now all of a sudden they had to cut the guy. But he gave Ray Rice, and many people remember this, he gave him an $8 million signing bonus after he figured out he was beating up his wife.
Yeah.
He gave him $8 million for beating up his wife. That was okay.
Yeah.
He got Dante Starr with the DUI and manslaughter charge.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
He gave him a new contract. That was okay. That was a felony offense, all right?
Yeah.
So when Shadi wants to talk about he's worried about public outcry and outlash against the team if they sign Colin Kaepernick, and once again, that's a bunch of BS, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because you can't be concerned about that when you're going out hiring known felons
Yeah.
to be on your team. But like I said, once again, let anybody within the NFL and anybody in the broadcast world, they will not touch on this. Show me one stadium that had a protest where Colin Kaepernick played a game last year in the NFL and had an empty or even a half-empty stadium, Charlton. That's what I want to see. There was no fall-off in attendance at any game that Colin Kaepernick played in the NFL. The NFL fans, Charlton, are so ravenous.
Yeah.
This is the reason why they would pay to watch felons.
Yeah.
They charged with obstruction of justice in a murder case.
Yeah,
Okay?
the National Felon League is what is becoming known as. It's okay to have an arrest record, but you can't stand up for Black Lives Matter. Is that what you're saying, Big C?
That's what I'm saying. As long as you got a felony rap, the NFL gets a ballyhoo for you. You come on in and decide how much money you want.
Yeah.
You know, is a $20 million guaranteed signing bonus going to be okay? You got these felony charges. Don't worry about it. Every year in the NFL, Charlton, there's more and more felons that are hired in the NFL.
Yeah.
But if you're a guy who gets felonies committed against private citizens in America,
Yeah.
we don't want you around because you're standing up for what's right. That's not what the NFL is all about.
Yeah, you know.
And I'm an advocate of the NFL.
Yeah.
And I appreciate what pro football has done for my life, Charlton.
Yeah.
Allowing me to get to the point that I am. But I am now embarrassed
Yeah.
about the actions of the NFL, the commissioner and owners. If the commissioner, Roger Goodell, doesn't step in on this Colin Kaepernick fiasco, he's the biggest coward in the history of commissioners in all professional sports, Charlton, because he knows the BS is going on. He's sitting there witnessing it every day.
Yeah.
And he's saying that the political lay of the land
Yeah.
is greater than the sport. You're talking about protecting the shield, then protect the shield against felons, not protecting the shield against people who stands for the citizens' rights, who try to watch the game and buy tickets, Charlton.
You know, it makes a lot of sense, Big C. Baltimore, the city of Baltimore, in that area, I believe 64% is African American. And a lot of the people who live in that city, they suffer from the same thing that Colin Kaepernick called out law enforcement to stop killing black people, basically is what it was. And that pissed off a lot of white Americans to hear someone say that. But let's be honest about this. If you understand the fact that many people have already heard the Donald Trump statement about rough them up when you put them in a car, he wasn't talking about blonde-haired, blue-eyed white kids that live in suburbia. He was talking about black kids and Hispanics. And people know that. And to act like they're so intellectually vapid that it was about the troops, that just shows either some people are just dumb or they just want to keep the racial divide. I think back to the NAACP that was started in 1909. It wasn't started because the society was fair and equal. It was started actually by Jewish Americans as well as some people of color, but it was not started by black Americans. Primarily Jewish Americans started the NAACP, and they started it because we had racial injustice in the United States of America. And that's the same type of effort we need from the banking industry. We need that from the media outlets to realize that we got to get rid of the bigotry in our society, not the people who say, stop killing my kids. That's what we have to say. And we got to get rid of the abusers in society, not the people that say, stop hitting women. And I think for anyone, black and white, it's going to take intelligent people. I know there's a lot of dumb people that are on the air, and they don't even read, so they don't even know what they're talking about. They're just going to read what somebody says to them. But ESPN did a big injustice because they said that this guy, Biscotti, did not want to hire Kaepernick because of the, Black Lives Matter stand. And Ozzie Newsome came out and said, no, we didn't say that. We're still going through the process. We know that has something to do with it because we're not sycophants. But the fact that ESPN did not name the name of the reporter, they did not name the name of the person who told that story because Biscotti came out and refuted that, even though we know he's also succumbing to that Donald Trump pressure. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it is, Charlton. It was Biscotti. He gave a lot of money to Trump, to the Republican campaign.
Yeah.
But, he's part of that non-profit organization called the NFL. Okay?
Yeah.
And as long as we're non-profit, we don't want Donald Trump trying to come in, even though he doesn't pay taxes, and want us to start paying taxes.
Yeah.
We don't want to mess up that rodeo that we're riding in for free.
Yeah.
It's a circus clown.
Yeah.
But, here it is. Like I said, 132, 128, whatever it was.
128, yeah.
And everybody was saying that all 128 of them were better than Colin Kaepernick.
No.
I'm not saying that he's the elitist quarterback in the NFL, but for a guy, because you took a stance, okay?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you can't play in the league because you took a stance. You can't say that his numbers were bad. He was 16-4 touchdown to interception ratio.
Yeah.
Look at all the starting quarterbacks in the NFL. See how many of them had a better touchdown to interception ratio. And everybody was saying, well, he only won one game.
Look at who he was playing for. The team only won 2 games last year.
He played on the worst defense in the NFL history. He played on a team that had a defense that every team, and everybody plays fantasy football in America.
Yeah.
Everybody started their fantasy running back
Yeah.
against the San Francisco 49ers. They're the only team in NFL history to give up 100 yards to every running back that they face, every starting starting running back
Yep.
that they faced last season.
Yeah.
First time in NFL history, they said, well, it was the quarterback's fault. I mean, Colin Kaepernick played behind an offensive line that was like holding cheesecloth in front of a semi that you can't come through. Okay?
You know, Big C.
He played with a defense, Charles,
Yeah.
that had defensive backs that couldn't tackle the cheerleaders.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
So, you blamed him for everything. You had a coach that was schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Because he didn't know who to play.
Yeah.
All right? So
Yeah.
don't blame the guy. You had a general manager that lost his mind. I think he's locked up right now.
Yeah.
Mental ward. But you're blaming the guy who gave 100% effort every play.
Yeah.
For the team's ineptitude and lack of talent. You blame him for drafting players, for cutting players, and for keeping players.
You know what's ironic?
Sit there.
You know, it's ironic, Big C. I just want to say this segment is sponsored by Better Market Insurance. Sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every sporting event, you need athletic event, any event insurance. We get it through Big C Sports with Ben and Mark. They cover pro athletes, your college athletes, your high school players, even your mom and pop soccer leagues. Reach out to them, let them know that Charlton and Big C sent you. I want to draw a comparison between two sports, because if Colin Kaepernick signs with a team, they'll sell out. If some knucklehead sponsor pulls out, it'll just be for a week, because he's the most talked about quarterback in the NFL. He's not even on a team. That means more and more people are going to show up to that game. It'll just be a story from one day, maybe 1 week, not much more than dogfighting, not much more than beating up women, or the guy that beat up his wife 20 times with the New York Giants, and the Mara family still paid him money, Big C. They even hit the wife at a Pro Bowl over in Hawaii. So obviously it'll be something that'll make a lot of people come and realize that black lives do matter. It's not just when you're in a uniform, but obviously that's the angle that the mainstream media wants to keep playing because they're ignorant.
Look at this. If anybody in Baltimore vows to give up their season tickets, you're going to tell me there's not 25,000 people in the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't give me that crap that, okay, well, we're going to give up our season tickets.
Yeah.
People said, please do.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
There's 25,000 people saying, please give up your season tickets.
Yeah.
If they sign Colin Kaepernick. I want to go in and watch him when he's sitting on the bench or playing on the field.
Yeah.
I want to be in the stadium, so please give up your season tickets. There's not that many fools out there in society, John,
No.
that are going to get. I mean, I think about the New York Giants when Mara talked about he's gotten so much negative press from the fans about if he was potentially signed, Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
But he got so many positive letters about Josh Brown
Beat up his wife 20 times.
He got a lot of positive letters from the fans about Josh Brown.
But people, but Big C,
Negative letters about Colin Kaepernick.
Big C, you've been around for a long time. Do people really know he beat his wife 20 times and the Mara family paid him anyway, or is it just us? Because I think sometimes I don't hear people talking about it outside of Big C Sports. Your thoughts?
But Charleston was let go because he was a white man beating a white woman. It was okay. We're going to let that go. It wasn't like Greg Hardy when he was prosecuted and convicted for beating somebody. It wasn't like Ray Rice when he was immediately cut once it made the television, Charleston. The Mara family said we deeply regret. That's
Yeah.
all they deeply regret.
Being caught.
Even though for 2 years they knew what was going on, so they had to make a statement that they deeply regret that we had paid this guy an extra 2 years and signed him to a 2-year extension.
Yeah.
For beating up his wife, even though we knew about it, we didn't expect anybody else to find out about it.
Yeah.
We thought he would be quiet and accept those butt whippings from this guy.
Yeah.
From this big man.
Yeah.
So, when we look at the double standard in the NFL, Charleston, it's a double standard in every statute way.
Yeah.
The commissioner knew about this. The NFL has its own policing department.
Yeah.
So when there's a police officer come out, they get a call.
Oh yeah, Roger knew.
About Josh Brown. Roger Goodell knew about it. He's right there down the street from him. So
Yeah.
He was from New York, so he knew what was going on with the Giants.
Yeah.
He speaks with the Mara family. So if you're a felon, the NFL welcomes you with open arms. It's almost like Easter because the eggs are laying everywhere.
Yeah.
You don't want to see them because they're different colors than the grain.
Yeah.
So if you're a felon, the NFL is walking around picking up the eggs and everything, put them in the basket. It reminds me of a song that my daughter used to sing to me when she came from preschool years ago, and I don't even know how I can remember this. It was like, nanny, nanny, foo-foo, I don't like your attitude, skipping through the forest, scooping up all the nannies and popping on the head. The NFL is skipping through the forest, scooping up all the felons and putting them in a uniform is what they're doing, Joe.
Big C, I had no idea that you could rap. I was starting to get my groove on when you were singing that song, Big C. So maybe you've been doing something down in Hollywood also. But anyway, I just hope that, you know, it's going to take smart people to talk, because a lot of dumb people, they keep making it about the troops. I just hope that we get more smart people covering the airways. Big C, I do want to say that tomorrow night, I mean, where did it happen so fast? The NFL preseason Hall of Fame game kicking off in Canton, Ohio at the Hall of Fame Stadium. And I think it's a good and a bad thing. The good thing is we all love the sport, and we've got to protect it by being honest about it. And the bad thing is you're going to see so many guys walking onto the stadium that have a hard time getting around. Give me your thoughts on the good and the bad of seeing the Hall of Fame game, Big C. Your thoughts.
Jonathan, it's always a joyous occasion to be at this time of the year where you see so many alumnus being honored for their labors and you know, turmoil over their career. And the turmoil, I mean about the pain, Jonathan, that they had to endure.
Yeah.
So it's gotten better for the modern player, the recuperative abilities and medical powers that exist now versus what existed 30, 40 years
Yeah.
ago, even 20 years ago, Jonathan.
Yeah.
As far as a player recuperating time in the game. But to be honored and enshrined in Canton forever.
Yeah.
To be one of those, Jonathan, that will always be remembered. Because so many players, we think about those that are in Canton, Jonathan.
Yeah.
But there are many more that are not in Canton that people have forgotten about.
Yeah.
You know, I saw a former player when I was in New Orleans over the weekend, Jonathan.
Yeah.
And it was disheartening. You know, this was an NFL veteran who had a leg amputation, okay?
Wow.
Because of multiple surgeries. And you feel bad. I mean, you feel great for the guys that you honor in Canton.
Yeah.
But, you know, in having the conversation with them, you know, we're sitting there talking, and I don't want to put light on who he is.
Yeah.
He's not trying to live his life in public. He's just being a normal person.
Yeah.
The only way you know he's an NFL player is because he's a very large man.
Yeah.
A former player, and you have to know who he is to know who he is. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
But we were talking, and we both talked about how much the game meant to us, you know, when we played. And we reveled in the glory that we had, but we also talked about the pain that we endure now. It's nice to be put in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But to have the pain that you have to endure mentally and physically every day. And I'm sitting there talking to him. He's getting his pension, disability, and all that. But, you know, he was talking about, do I want to continue on?
Yeah.
And that was the saddening part, because we talked about CTE and
Yep.
all of that with each other.
Yeah.
The saddening part is like, you know, what I have to endure every day, and I get no recognition from it.
Yeah.
I lost a leg because of the game, and I get no recognition for it. There's no Hall of Fame, Jonathan, for the injured in the NFL. You think about that.
That's a good point.
There's more players that have lost their career due to injuries than there are players in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But there's no Hall of Fame for players who have lost their career due to injury. And they're forgotten about, Jonathan.
Yeah.
They're forgotten about by the organizations. They're forgotten about by the league. We've all had to fight to get whatever dollar and dime we can get from the league. We had to be denied. Just like any insurance company, you're denied.
Yeah.
They'll say, oh, we know that you're hurt because of the game. We're just going to give you this money.
Yeah.
They deny you. They deny you, and you have to fight them for years to get anything.
Yep.
It's a great organization, but the fight that you have to put up as a player for what you allow players nowadays to make millions of dollars
Yeah.
for, when you only made thousands, tens of thousands, and everybody wasn't even making six figures.
Yeah, that's true. Having to work two jobs, Big C. Just want to get your thoughts on the two teams we're going to see tomorrow. I know it's just preseason, and I know a lot of coaches, they're just deciding who they're going to cut. They want to get some drills in and get back into the flow of things, Big C. But you have the Dallas Cowboys playing the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, they may not even play their starters more than a series, if that, Big C. Just want to get your thoughts on who looks better going into this year. Obviously, Dallas is still favored to win the NFC East, and obviously Arizona is probably going to be after Seattle out here in the NFC West. Your thoughts, Big C? Yeah.
Because as a veteran player, you know which veteran
yeah.
you're going to keep from last year.
Yeah.
What you're trying to find out now, Johnson, is the quality of depth that you're going to have on your roster. And so that's a problem. And if I'm the Dallas Cowboys and J.C. Garrett, I would do the same thing with, you know, Jerry Jones with an ego and being in the Hall of Fame.
He might throw Tony Romo out there, Big C. He might be a cameo appearance.
He may bring in Tony,
Yeah.
a cameo. But he'll play his starters 2 to 3 series.
Yeah.
And I think it's wrong. You bring in all these young, unproven players find out what you have.
Yeah.
Why are you paying them? And that's what the preseason should be about. I've always been about, even as a player, the first 2 preseason games should always be just the rookies and free agents and the backups on the roster.
Yeah.
Let them play the entire games. Game 3 and 4, now you bring the veterans in, let them play a half in each one of those games to get the rhythm for the regular season, and you'll be much better off. So I see this as just a tune-up. Bruce Arians is a very intelligent coach to make that move, Charles.
Yeah, he's a very good coach, a good guy. Obviously, a lot of people like him. Big C, I want to ask you one more thing before we close out. You know, all around the United States of America, we're all talking about what the Trump administration is going to do. We're talking about how can we make sure that we treat people fair. Even the administration is trying to pass this immigration ban. He's not passing it for European countries. They're passing it for countries that are South United States, like in the South America, you know, Mexico, Latin America. And ironically, I can't keep going away from the sports, because sports is, you know, the World Cup in soccer has brought the whole world together. The Olympics brings the whole world together. All continents, all creeds and colors. And when you look at the World Football League, that was part of Europe, but that kind of depended. But the NFL, the National Football League, could be called the World Football League because everybody loves it. How do we think that sports will bring our society together when everybody else seems to be at each other's throats? Big C, your thoughts?
Cultural revolution, Charlton, in America. When you think of the NHL, half of the NHL is of European players.
Yeah.
You think about Major League Baseball, half of baseball is of Latin, at least a third of Major League Baseball is of Latin American players, Charlton. The NFL has a handful of Latin players in the NFL, so they're all around. So when you talk about a president talking about banning players and people from other countries, think about soccer. Soccer is over with European and South American players.
Yeah.
And here's the president talking about putting an immigration ban on people who cannot speak English. But he's going to put that ban on the Europeans.
How about on himself? He can't speak English, Big Z.
Yeah. He's got to get rid of her. She don't speak good English.
Yeah.
And so she's forcing it. So when the president is talking about doing this, like I said earlier in the show, Charlton, I don't see white Americans lining up, Charlton, to do the laborers, put in jobs.
Yeah.
Many of these foreigners take over, Charlton, that don't speak English. And many Americans take advantage of them because they don't speak English or understand all the laws of labor in this country. So I want Donald Trump, before he gets this bill passed, Charlton, I want him to go out and line up all those white Americans that are willing to take those jobs that those immigrants take. And I'm not being racist.
No, not at all. Yeah.
We'll line them up, get them to fill out the applications, have them ready to go to work. Because when the price of our food and products go up in America, you know, they're not going to be working in these meat packing plants, Charlton. Like I said, they're not going to work in the produce fields. They're not going to go work in the hospitals to clean beds or in the hotels to do the same thing. They're not going to be maintenance people, Charlton, at certain facilities cleaning up. And white America doesn't do that because those jobs exist.
Yeah.
White America is not applying for them. So for Donald Trump to go tell these people, and think about this, West Virginia, a state that was heavily for Trump.
Yeah.
A state that was heavily for Trump. There's no, you know, farm working jobs in those states, Charlton.
No.
To go out, those people are not going to go to work. So it's not going to help those states in any way as far as produce and other products like that have to be produced. There's no huge, you know, convention industry where they got to go in and clean hotels.
I agree. Big C, in the last 2 minutes, I just want to mention that Joel Spangard was a Jewish American. He was actually the first president of the NAACP back in 1909. The first African American president did not happen until 1966, and that was by the name of Roy Williams. And if you think about it, the NAACP was created to help. It was by a biracial organization to help kind of solve the racial divide and cure injustice for Black Americans. W.E.B. Du Bois, Mary White Ovington, and Moorfield Story, they all started that. These were Jewish Americans. I just hope that we can have more people in our society protect people who can't protect themselves, whether it's people of color or women. We got to find a way to do that. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bondini Brown. He was Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He had a story called Rumble, Young Man Rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
We're looking forward to baseball. Right now, you know, everybody's got their lineup settled, and with the trade deadline is passed, and so I'm looking for this hunt for real I'm also looking for this hunt for tomorrow night. This Hall of Fame induction game in Canton. To see the pads finally clash for the first time this year. And now when you get down to reality,
yeah,
the ball being played.
Big C, I think we're all looking forward to it. You can also look for it every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and the good old boys down south. We want to tell you there's never any excuse for domestic violence. No woman should ever have to go through that garbage on her own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you. We appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.